This video was brought to you by one of you dear viewers, Godolph Zombie. Oh, wait a second, I pronounced that wrong. God of Zombie. My apologies. Anyway, this was an idea presented by Zombie to me during the Plasmoid video. So I decided to take the idea and run with it. So, thank you, Zombie, for the marvelous idea. And now, on with today's video. Greetings, dear viewer. Welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Concept. I am your host, Drayhon. And this is actually the Deep Dive series, where we take an actual build concept and, well, create it, improve upon it, and make it playable. I've done this a few times, once as a master archer, another one as a parkour master, and one of my latest ones is the Untouchable Sentinel. Today we are taking a look at the Mimic, which was given to us by the user God of Zombie. And I actually like the idea. I had thought that somebody would actually have an idea, but I've never seen one. Well, at least I haven't seen one as of yet. So if there is one out there for a playable Mimic, please let me know down in the comments below. Now, I'll go ahead and be honest with you. I did have to redo this concept, because originally I did have an idea for a Mimic by using the Druid class. But now, like, Drayhon, there's a lot simpler way to do this. Just do this. And so I decided to start all over and do something other than a druid. So here we are. Let's go ahead and get on with the video. So I have over here on the right hand side the Mimic stat block. I'm using this as a reference point for the build. So by the point buy system, we'll have a strength of 15, a dexterity of 12, constitution of 14, intelligence and charisma are our lowest stats at an 8, and a wisdom of 14. So we have pretty much exactly what the Mimic stat block suggests. We're going to have a few stats over because, of course, we are. And we're probably going to have a bit more AC and a bit more HP. But other than that, well, that and the speed's going to be a lot higher. Other than that, we're probably going to get roughly the same stats that we see from the Mimic. Not exactly, but we're going to get pretty close. So let's go ahead and get things started with the race. The closest thing we have to an actual Mimic is the Plasmoid. We get the creature type of ooze, medium size, speed of 30 feet. We get the amorphous property. We have the dark vision of 60 feet, which is a thing on the Mimic stat block, I just checked. We have the hold breath feature, natural resilience, and shape self. Now, we do have on the Mimic an immunity to acid, and immunity to the condition prone. The natural resilience is mostly for the poison damage and poison condition, so we don't exactly have a resistance to that, which is unfortunate, at least not that I remember. Anyway, not important. The shape self feature is actually what's going to help us with our Mimic. It's not shape change, but it is close. But we're not going to be done with that just yet, because we have another piece that's going to be helpful for the Mimic's ability to change into other objects. But first, we need a background, and I think that the anthropologist will actually be a wonderful idea for a background. This will give us proficiency in 2 skills, insight and religion, as well as 2 languages. We have cultural chameleon and adept linguist. This is actually perfect, because cultural chameleon and adept linguist help us in becoming more like the objects our prey would be attracted to. More like a chest, a table, a chair, just something that we can use as a lure to have food. So cultural chameleon is great. Adept linguist is somewhat useful as well, in that we can learn other languages, even if slightly, be able to understand what our potential prey is saying. For class, we're going to start off with the fighter. This will give us proficiencies in all armor and shields, simple weapons, martial weapons, strength and constitution saving throws, and 2 skills will go with athletics and acrobatics. We get the fighting style, unarmed fighting, which is amazing for what we're doing here. Now, our unarmed strikes can deal 1d6 plus strength modifier on a hit, but if we're not wielding any weapons or a shield, when I make this attack, that d6 is a d8, which, if you remember from the stat block, is what the pseudopod's damage type is, a d8. Secondly, on the start of each of your turns, you can deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage to 1 creature grappled by you. That's awesome. While we have someone in a chokehold, we can start dealing minor damage to them. Now let's go ahead and multi-class into Monk. This will give us unarmored defense, which is 10 plus dexterity plus wisdom, and I just realized that I haven't changed this from the last stat block I had it on. My apologies. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. Hold on. Get over here. Boop. Doop. There we go. Sorry, that was from my Untouchable Sentinel build. Okay, so dexterity plus wisdom and 10. There we go. And we also have martial arts. Now, thanks to our unarmed fighting style, we already know that's going to be either a d6 if we have a weapon, or a d8 if we don't have weapons at all. So, more often than not, it's going to be a d8. So, not a problem at all. Moving on to level 2 Monk, we get Key, which uses our wisdom modifier, which is very good since mimics have high wisdom. We get unarmored movement, increasing our movement speed by currently an additional 5 feet. By the end of this build, it would be like, I think 15 feet? Can't remember. Anyway, dedicated weapon, which is optional. We don't really need it. We're just going to be using our pseudopods. Now, 3rd level Monk is where things get interesting. If you guys remember the book Exploring Eberron by Keith Baker, the person who created Eberron Rising from the Last War, we have the monastic tradition known as Way of the Living Weapon. We get 3 different features. One of them, Fist of Bone and Steel, lets us deal some extra damage. Mutable Strikes even lets us change that damage type to have it either be bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing, which is great. But we also have a martial discipline known as the Weretouched. This is something that we did not cover before because we really didn't need to. The Weretouched, when we have this martial discipline, basically causes our target to bleed. At the start of each of their turns, they'll take 1d4 slashing damage, which is great. Now, I think they need to make a saving throw of some kind, but other than that, that is great. Use your martial discipline of the Weretouched to cause them to bleed, and then grapple them, they're going to be taking a lot of damage at the beginning of each of their turns. That's going to be awesome. Just for being a 3rd level monk, you also get the ability to deflect missiles and key-fueled attack. Moving on to level 4 monk, we're going to grab a feat, Eldritch Adept. This gives us access to one Eldritch invocation that does not have a prerequisite. If it had a prerequisite, we would need to be a warlock. But since we are not picking a prerequisite, we are able to choose the Mask of Many Faces, which gives us access to the Eldritch invocation. Well, not the Eldritch invocation, gives us access to the 1st level spell, Disguise Self, which is something that Zombie pointed out in his comment. And I agree, this is an amazing spell to have. And I was going to originally go with a spellcaster to try to get Disguise Self, but I realized, why would I do that? The Eldritch invocation, Mask of Many Faces, lets us cast Disguise Self at will, without expending a spell slot. It lets us use it as if it were a cantrip. How cool is that? A free cantrip at that. So this is already amazing. We have just completed roughly 98% of the build just by having 5 levels. I think around 90. We're going to finish the build here in a moment because we still need a couple of key features. Moving on to Disguise Self lets you change your body type, so you must adopt a form that has the same basic arrangement of limbs. This is perfect for a plasmoid because they have the ability to become a limbless blob. So they could disguise themselves to be roughly anything. You can even give yourself 1 limb or 2 limbs and just be, I don't know, anything. You can even disguise yourself as a chair by shaping yourself in the form of a chair and then use Disguise Self to make you a chair. Or you can do your little blob form and turn into a rock. Or flatten yourself out and be a rug. Or a stone tile. Which would be hilarious. Alright, so moving on to Fighter Level 2, we get Action Surge. Dry throat. Okay, moving on. Level 3 Fighter, we're going with the Martial Archetype Battle Master. We get 3 maneuvers: Lunging Attack, Grappling Strike, and Trip Attack. I love Trip Attack, it is hilarious. You can throw a dart at someone, and if they fail your maneuver save DC, they fall prone. You could shoot them with a spit wad, and they would fall. Just because they failed their saving throw, which is hilarious. And it would work perfectly with a Mimic. Knock them down, and then grapple them. They are prone, they are grappled. And with an upcoming feature, we're going to be able to restrain them as well. Incapacitate, I believe, is the correct term. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, it's going to be crazy. You can have them in a headlock on the ground, they can't move, and you're dealing damage to them every single turn without even moving, which is hilarious. Tool proficiency, Smith's tools, which is not truly important. Moving on to level 5 Monk, we get extra attack, stunning strike, and focused aim. Pretty neat. Level 6 Monk gets Key Empowered Strikes and Manifest Blow from the Living Weapon Monk. This makes our unarmed strikes even more powerful. Level 7 Monks get Evasion and Stillness of Mind. Level 8 Monks, we're going to grab the feat Grappler instead of the ability score Improvement. This is what made things a little bit more interesting. If I remember correctly, you incapacitate both you and your grappled target. It was either that or restrain. I couldn't remember exactly which one. But either way, it's amazing. I love it, and it's perfect for this build. Going over to level 9 Monk, we get Unarmored Movement Improvement. Now, we can run on walls. How funny is that? And we can also walk on water, but that's not as important as being able to walk across the walls. You know, kind of like the spell Spider Climb. Moving on to level 10 Monk, we get Purity of Body. Level 11 Monk gets Reflexive Adaptation from the Way of the Living Weapon, which is pretty cool. I like it. Level 12 Monks get an ability score improvement. Go ahead and increase your strength to an 18. Level 13 Monks get Tongue of the Sun and Moon. Level 14 Monks get Diamond Soul. Level 15 Monks get Timeless Body. At level 16, we're going to get another feat, Skill Expert. Go ahead and increase your strength to a 19, and then grab the skill proficiency Stealth, and then make it an expertise in Stealth. Because mimics have a +5 to their Stealth, and Stealth is a dexterity skill, so their dexterity being a +1, or is it a +2? I can't remember. I believe we made it a +2, but either way, having double the proficiency on their stat block originally, which was a +1, plus their proficiency bonus twice was a +5. Here, we get double the proficiency bonus on top of our normal dexterity modifier for our stealth, which is amazing. And finally, we are going with Perfect Form for our Way of the Living Weapon. This allows us to choose another martial discipline. We're going to choose Weretouched once again, because this lets us use our Flurry of Blows to attack 3 times with an unarmed strike instead of 2 as a bonus action. So, awesome. We get more attacks. We get to deal some more damage. This is pretty good. What do you think of this build? Do you think it would have been better if I did a druid, or is this grappling champion extremely good? I personally like this build. Would I use it? Debatable. While it is a hilarious build and really powerful at that, I probably wouldn't use it for the DM's sanity. But if your dungeon master does want everyone to play as a quote-unquote monster for a one-shot, then this would be the perfect build as kind of a jokesy character. Play as a monster in a dungeon, you can play the Mimic, which, that would be hilarious. But this would also give a dungeon master an excuse to make a more powerful Mimic. So, yeah, there you go. You're welcome, dungeon masters. Have these features for your Mimics. So, anyway, that's all the time I have for you today. Next time we meet, it's going to be October. Literally, that's literally the next week. So we're going to start doing some October specials. Something spooky is coming your way. We're going to start with a homebrew. We're going to do a reload of one of my older builds. And then we're going to do some villainous character builds, followed by the 2 Halloween specials. Whatever those are going to be, I still haven't decided. But until next time, my dear viewers, this has been Drehan, and I am offline.